Activity 221 is the file supplied is activity 221 start, so you need to open that up, and it's a series of artboards that's going to help you learn how to use the pen tool, starting off very simple and building up from there. So there are instructions for each one of these objects, and if ever you've played that game as a kid of joining the dots, it's kind of that type of exercise, but it helps to get you used to how the pen tool works. So the first thing I want you to do is to choose the pen tool, and then also to set your fill to none and your stroke to red, and let's set it to 2 points in width so that we can actually see what we're doing. So I'm going to zoom in to this first object, and all you're doing at the moment is you're clicking and moving from dot to dot. So here's the start point, so I'm just going to click, release, move to 2, click, release, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now when I go back to start, I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see. You'll see that when my pen moves over the start point, I get that little O in the bottom right corner of the icon or the cursor. That's telling me that if I click now, I'm going to create a closed shape. So there's without closing it, there's with closing it. So I'm going to click to close it. So that's just a simple shape made out of straight lines. So we're going to move down to object 2, and this is, we're going to use the same principle, but this time we're going to hold down shift the whole time so that we get perfectly horizontal or vertical lines. So holding down shift ensures that your lines are horizontal, vertical, or at 45 degrees. So holding shift, click, and then I'm going through the numbers. Okay, you don't have to be absolutely super accurate, just roughly following these numbers. So you can see the way all the lines are perfectly horizontal or vertical. Now when I get to 24, instead of me closing the shape, I'm going to leave it open, but look, it wants me to carry on drawing. So how do I actually finish this so that I can carry on making a new shape? Well, once you've finished and the shape is an open path and you don't want to close it, you hold down Command on the Mac or Control on Windows and just click away, and that ends the shape. That says I'm finished. Alright, so we're going to go to object 3, and here we're going to add a little bit of complexity. So I'm going to click on Start, move, click on 2, and then when I get to 3, I'm going to click my mouse button down and hold and drag to the red dot and release, and you can see I'm now creating a curve, and that's the whole point of the pen tool, is to be able to create controlled curves. So once I've done that, I'm just going to move to 4, click, move back to start. When I see the little O to close the shape, I'm going to click. Let's do something a little bit more complex. Using the same principle, wherever I see a red dotted line and then a red dot, it means hold and drag to that point. So I'm going to click and hold on start and drag to red. Click and hold on 2, drag to red. Click and hold on 3, drag to red. Same for 4, same for 5, and then back to start, close the shape. So we've made an eye shape. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now we're adding a little bit more complexity to it. So where you see a yellow dotted line and a yellow dot, that means hold down Alt before you move to the yellow dot. I'll show you what I mean. So we start here at start, click and hold, drag to the red dot, release. Move to number 2, click and hold, drag to red, release. Move to number 3, click and hold, drag to red, keep holding Alt or Option on the Mac, move to yellow, release your mouse, then release Alt or Option. Move to 4, click and hold, drag to red. when we get to the start point again, before you click to close the shape, hold down Alt or Option, click and hold, drag to yellow. Okay, this one you're going to probably have to do a few times. Just, you can always pause the video and rewind it and do it again. But basically, holding down Alt allows you to create corner points instead of smooth points. So let's go to this shape and let's try this one together. So exactly the same principle. Click and hold, drag to red. Move to number 2, drag to red, hold down Alt or Option, move to yellow. Go to 3, click and hold, drag to red. Same, and then for this 6, click and hold, drag to red, Alt or Option, move to yellow. Okay, click and hold, drag to red one more time, and then back to the beginning. When you see the little O, click to close the shape. Okay, so you should start getting the idea of how it works now. Okay, now here I'm going to show you a slightly different method of creating shapes with the pen tool, and that is first of all to lay down your points without any clicking and holding and dragging, just clicking. So click, click, and back to start to finish the shape. Then I hold down Alt or Option and go over this point and drag. Okay, so that the point at the bottom is on the red dot, and then release. Now I hold down Control or Command to give me the direct selection tool, and I'm going to drag this point out to the red dot up there. Then same thing here, Alt or Option, drag, in Command or Control, drag up here. So it's slightly more tedious method, but you might feel more comfortable starting like this, just laying down the points first and then going in and practicing moving the anchor points and the control handles to make the shape. So we're going to make the same shape again using the first method I showed you, which is doing it on the fly, which is the method you should ultimately be using once you master this tool. So click on Start, release, move to 2, click and hold, drag to red, release, move to 3, click and hold, drag to red, Alt or Option, move to yellow, release, go to 4, click and hold, drag to red, release, move back to start, close the shape. Okay, much easier to do it this way, but it does take a little bit more practice. Alright, so let's look at this familiar logo. So I have not given you any dotted lines. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way here. Let me just get to this artboard. I have not given you any dotted lines. I've just given you where the points go. So now you need to practice. And if you want to get it perfect, unless you really have an aptitude for this tool, it takes practice. It's kind of like when you first start driving a car. When you go for your first driver's license, you think it's impossible to do all these things at once. Look in the rearview mirror, change gear, work 3 pedals, steer the car. It seems like a lot, but then eventually one day, after enough practice, it just comes naturally. And that's how the pen tool works. So for this shape, I'm going to show you and just give you a few tips. So I'm going to start with this point here, and I'm going to zoom in a bit so that you can see what I'm doing. So if you think of each point as a clock, look at where the line leaves that point. So if you look at this line, it's leaving at kind of 7 o'clock. So that is the direction I need to drag my direction handle in, towards 7 o'clock, not all the way to the other point, just kind of less than halfway, because it's a shallow curve, and then release. Then if you look at this point, it enters, the path enters at 3 o'clock and exits at 9 o'clock. So that is how I must drag my handles. So the incoming handle is at 3 o'clock and the outgoing handle is at 9 o'clock, and I just drag them long enough, looking behind me, not ahead of me, so that that path matches, and then release. Then here, same again, it enters at 3 o'clock, exits at 9 o'clock. So that's how I'm going to drag my handles, looking behind me until the curve matches. Same here, enters at 3 o'clock, exits at 9 o'clock. So that is how I'm going to drag my handles. I'm not looking like that. That's not what you want to do. So I'm going to match that. Alright, I'm going to come back and fix that later, but here you can see it enters at 6 o'clock and exits at 12 o'clock. So that is how I drag my handles. I'm just holding down the space bar to move up. Here it enters at 9 o'clock and exits at 3 o'clock. So now I'm going to have to drag it quite long so that it matches at the back. But the problem now, when I release and I go here, is this enters at 9 and exits at 3, but because I had to drag the previous handle so long, I now get a kink. So once I've dragged this out, I'm going to hold down Command or Control, which gives me the direct selection tool, and I'm just going to shorten this one handle and this one handle so that it matches. Okay, now I can go here, it comes in at 9, goes out at 3. Now here it comes in at about 10 o'clock. So I'm first of all going to drag my incoming handle so that it comes in at 10 o'clock, but it goes out at about 8 o'clock, so I need to hold down Option or Alt to change direction to 8 o'clock. Then here comes in at 12 o'clock, leaves at 6 o'clock. And finally here, because this is a corner point at the end, I've got to hold down Option or Alt first, move over the start point, and now I need to drag to set my incoming path so that it comes in at 10 o'clock. Okay, so now that I've got the basic shape, I can hold down Command or Control to give me the direct selection tool, and I can actually drag on these paths just to fine tune them a little bit. So I'm just going to go in here and adjust this a tiny bit so that I get a better result. Okay, so you don't have to be too OCD about this, but that's a pretty good result. So let's do the leaf now. So here it leaves at 12 o'clock, so that's the direction I drag my outgoing handle. It enters at roughly 9 o'clock, so that's how I drag that. Now I hold down Option or Alt, change direction to 6 o'clock, and then I continue holding Alt or Option, and I drag so the incoming handle comes in at 3 o'clock. Okay, so the pen tool, don't despair. It is probably the most difficult tool in Illustrator to master, but once you've mastered it, it's really one of the most useful tools, and you really should persevere with it and get to know it really well. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.